Vintage Sand.
Hello, everybody. It's Josh Cabot. Happy to welcome you to the first part. We knew it was going to be a two-parter. The first part of episode 34, No Small Parts 2, or No Small Parts 2. Our further exploration of underloved and overlooked roles, this time featuring supporting actresses. And I'm pleased to say that we go all the way back to someone who started her career in the 19 teens to folks who are still working today, and we stop about everywhere in between. So enjoy, learn as much as I did from John and Mike, both trained actors who have so much insight to offer on this topic. And we will put out episode 34B in a couple of weeks. And then get ready for our December episode. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being part of Team Vintage Sand. Have an amazing Thanksgiving, and we'll see you with part 2 of this on the other side of the holidays. Hello, Vintage Sand fans, all 12 of you. Yes, the number's rising slowly, but, we're getting there. Actually, Mikey, you were saying that we got some good feedback on our last episode, yes?
Yeah, well, John said
I
that.
did too.
Yeah, well, anything specific? Anything you want to share with our loving fans?
Not during the episode.
Right.
And I will try to be more discreet this time after outing Mickey Mouse in our last episode.
Yeah, and I will...
Goofy is very upset with me.
Well, gee.
Well, I just heard he does both.
Well,
He's both ways.
He's that kind of mouse,
You know,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, listen.
He's all things to all people.
Like with all mice, any hole in a storm. There you go.
Whoa! No Disney star this week is in the necrology, so...
All right, we have a small necrology this week since it's been such a short time between. Well, hello everybody. We are here. It's the Friday before Thanksgiving, and so what are we giving thanks for this year, guys? 2020 was not a give thanks kind of year.
No.
Well, I gave thanks last year that Trump wasn't
That's right, I do remember that, yes. I mean,
And that we all survived the pandemic.
Yeah, knock on wood, and we're still doing this every month, and so that's something to give thanks, and I'm sure our audience is giving tremendous thanks for just us being us.
Yes, thank you for welcoming us into your home.
Into your homes, that's so lovely. I feel like a 40s radio show with a husband and wife in the morning, or Waldo Lidecker.
Whether you listen to us over your morning coffee or for
Don't
perhaps
make
your
fun of
afternoon
Waldo.
tea.
I love Waldo Lidecker.
He was my idol when I was...
Shotguns in the clock. There, I spoiled Laura for you. All right, there you go. It's in the clock. God, I love that movie.
Yes.
You know what I want to get? I want to get the little thing that Dana Andrews played with. So you get the little BBs in the...
Yes.
In the. I love that
Yeah,
game.
I love when he says, yes, but it calms me.
Oh my God, I love that movie. So, we are here for episode 34. Yes, episode 34 of Vintage Sand, the film podcast, your film history podcast. And last time in 33, which went so long that we had to run it into 2 episodes, which was kind of awesome, we shifted our focus, as I mentioned. The focus of a lot of what we've done so far, loyal listeners, as you know, has been centered on directors, centered on genres, centered on certain periods, centered on, our favorite beginnings or endings of films. And, it's natural for a study of film history to be director-centric. But I think we made the case, especially Mike and John, credit where credit is due, for the importance of, we talked last week about the problem with the auteur theory, as Pauline Kael pointed out, is that how can one person be the artist in a medium that's so deeply collaborative, and how important the actors are to that. So we focused in episode 33 on our favorite supporting actor performances over the years, and we really ran the gamut, some interesting choices and some great stories. So now we will devote episode 34 to a similar focus, No Small Parts 2. See, sort of combine the two things there. To some of our favorite such supporting performances by actresses that are underloved and overlooked across the years. Now, spoiler alert, I already figured out what Mike's number 1 is going to be. All right? It's going to be Lila Kudrova in Torn Curtain, right, Mike?
No. No.
My sponsor. Where is my sponsor?
God.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't even like her in Zorba the Greek, frankly.
yeah, no, I understand.
And she won.
And for those, we talk about Torn Curtain a lot. You should probably see it before you hate it as much as we do. But
Why would you do that to our audience?
that's true. That is kind of cruel, and I believe punishable under the Geneva Convention.
That's a good murder scene in the kitchen.
That's it.
That's the one scene.
And I think the reason people always point that out is because the rest of the movie is
so
so
bad.
boring.
So bad, and I don't know why Lila Kudrova's in there. It felt like she was written in at the last second. And
Maybe he wanted somebody else at first and wasn't available.
Made me miss the Iron Curtain. Made me miss the good old days of East Germany.
I think that was her first movie after having won the Oscar.
For Zorba, yeah. I know that, right, 64 to 66, sure. All right, so we are going to do our top 5, and no, Michael is going to choose something much better than Lila Kudrova looking for her sponsor in Torn Curtain. Yeah, it's terrible.
Not even worth a joke.
There you go. I don't know. I thought, was it worth a joke? Let's check the jokeometer. No, we're almost into the red there. So, but I'll have to dispute you on that. So we'll start with number 5s, and we'll kick off with the man, the legend, the one and only, Mr. John Meyer.
Well, before I start, I just want to quickly hark back to our previous episode, since we had mentioned several people from The Godfather, and I want to shout out to Al Lettieri as Sollozzo, because he is absolutely great in The Godfather.
And Abe Vigoda's good, too, for God's sake.
Everybody's
And Al Lettieri does bear a resemblance to our former governor.
Oh, that's true. I never thought about that.
I contend they're the same person. But
we've never seen them together.
Exactly.
Anyway, so my number 5, Anne Sheridan in The Man Who Came to Dinner and Edge of Darkness. Two ends of the acting spectrum.
Yeah, I don't know Edge of Darkness.
Okay, well, in The Man Who Came to Dinner, Sheridan plays Lorraine Sheldon, a vain, self-centered movie star who becomes part of a plot to steal Betty Davis's boyfriend, and then unwittingly has the tables turned on her and is shipped off to Nova Scotia.
Oh my God, you don't want that. You have to eat lobster every night.
She's very charming and funny in the movie. And Edge of Darkness is 1943, is a World War II movie directed by Louis Milestone that takes place in Norway during a Nazi occupation. Anne Sheridan plays Karen Stensgaard, who is very involved with the resistance and is very committed to the cause. And she plays her as someone who's very, very strong and willful, but still very humane and compassionate. And it's a very modern character. And it's one of those World War II movies from that era that's aged pretty well. It is rather grim, but it's almost an ensemble piece. Almost everybody in the movie has their scene. Errol Flynn is in it. Walter Houston, Ruth Gordon, Morris Karnofsky, Helmut Dantin as, of course, the Nazi.
Yes, one would imagine. I guess Conrad Veidt was not available.
Yes. Yeah, it's a fairly big cast. But she's really, really good in it. And one of the things that I've always liked about her, whenever I see her in something, is I always feel like she's the smartest person in the room.
She had a great career up through the 40s. What happened to her after that?
She had a span where she was a so-called star of a few years, and then she was in a couple of things that didn't do well at the box office, and studio was like, okay, well, we'll relegate her to B pictures.
And she died relatively young.
Yeah.
She died at 56, I think.
Yeah,
She was doing a sitcom called Pistols and Petticoats.
Yeah.
In the 60s?
In the 60s.
Yeah.
66. I remember watching that. And then she wasn't appearing in a lot of the episodes, and she wound up dying.
She had cancer.
Was she a stage actress as well?
I don't know.
I
don't think so.
I don't think so. She might have done some stage work, but I don't know anything about her doing any kind of stage work. But you're right, she did end up gravitating towards TV.
Yeah.
So she's the thinking man's Linda Darnell. That's what you're saying, basically. Look it up, people.
I don't think they knew what to do. I think maybe she was too smart. I don't think they knew what to do.
Yeah, I mean, she was
was
always good, always very real, and she was beautiful.
I particularly like her in one of my favorite Cary Grant movies.
Oh, yeah. I Was a Male War Bride.
Right.
Yeah,
she's excellent in that, and she always said that she loved working in that movie.
Yeah.
She said she had a great time.
It's such a funny movie.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, so that's great. So that was Ann Sheridan has been unjustly forgotten. Yeah, I totally agree with you guys.
I think she was underappreciated when she was alive during her career.
Yeah, she was. I mean, she'd pop up in things in the 50s. She was in this god-awful remake of The Women called The Opposite of Sex.
Oh.
It was a musical version. This one had men, June Allison and John Collins.
Musical version? Oh, boy.
Okay.
But the thing is, though, that even if the movie was bad, she was still always
to be good. Yeah.
And that it's funny that you say that, because in listening to the last episode again, that's the one thing that we kept saying about, we were talking about a lot of people in the last episode, and I think in this one too, who are in tons of bad movies but never give bad performances.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Ann Sheridan, very nice. All right, well, I'm going with someone who, for my number 5, who might very well be considered maybe the best screen actress of her generation. And so it's kind of surprising to find her on an overlooked, underloved list, but that would be Julianne Moore. Mm-hmm. And
I love Julianne Moore.
Does anybody not? How could you not love Julianne Moore? How could, someone who does comedy, who does heavy stuff, and that's the role that I chose. And it was difficult, and honestly, the only reason I didn't choose her for Lebowski, because she totally, everyone stole their sections of Lebowski. Yeah. She's wonderful in Lebowski, is because I chose John Goodman as my number 2 for that self-same film. So, and like Philip she reminds me of, she's a female version of Philip Seymour Hoffman, or, as we were talking about last week, of Claude Rains, of somebody who can be the star, can have a 2-minute cameo, or somewhere in the middle play a character part, and be brilliant all the way through.
Well, she's willing to do anything, really. If she sees a part that might be good for her, she does it. And I mean, she was on 30 Rock. She had a
right. Rock. She's Alec Baldwin's Lost Love from Boston. That's right. Yeah, I mean,
I saw her at the Guthrie before she was famous, playing Ophelia.
Wow, was she good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a wonderful production, I remember. Zivgo Ivanok, I can never pronounce that
the guy name. From Homicide.
Yeah. He played Hamlet.
Oh,
and it was quite good.
All right. But of the many possible films I could choose her for, I am, it's funny, we were talking about, Mike already has his tickets for Thanksgiving weekend for Licorice Pizza, Paul Thomas Anderson's latest film, and I have been, I've been fascinated by, not always a huge fan of all of his films since There Will Be Blood, but I still have a particular love for the early Paul Thomas Anderson, where he was sort of trying to be the next generation's Robert Altman.
Which, from what I understand, this film resembles a little bit.
Which is, and I could have chosen her for Boogie Nights as well, because she plays the mother of that. Yeah. Those films are always about oddball people coming together, colliding and literally colliding sometimes in different ways, and looking for connection. In the case of Boogie Nights, it was almost creating an alternate family. With Burt Reynolds as the dad, right, and she's the mom. And but I'm picking her for Magnolia because, that's
she's great.
Everyone is, and that is the most
even Tom Cruise.
There, and see, I didn't even have to say it. I was ready to go. I had the boxing gloves on.
I admit that is the one time where he knocked it out of the park, and I don't know what happened to him. Why he did that, but he was great in it.
Oh, and the scene where the woman's interviewing him about and trying to get information about his childhood
and his mother.
Oh my God, he's so good.
Must have slipped him. Anderson must have slipped him a Mickey or something, because he is just terrific. And
Julianne or Anderson's just great with actors. Although when you have Daniel Day-Lewis, you don't have a lot of hard work, or Philip Seymour Hoffman, but. I'm not even going to try to bother with the story of Magnolia. If you haven't, if you haven't seen it, you must.
We'll be here for 4 hours.
Right, her section of the film, she plays a much younger wife to an old dying man, Earl, played by Jason Robards.
Which I think was his last film.
It was his last film. And what I love about her performance in it is that it's completely turned on its head, because there's a scene where she goes to the lawyer to change the will. And you think it's going to be, here's her gold digger moment. She's about 30, 40 years younger than he is. But it's just the opposite. She goes to the lawyer and she says, I married him. She kind of admits to being a gold digger, but she has so come to love him, honestly and openly, that she's gone to the lawyer to change the will, to take her out of the will. so that she doesn't get money when he dies, so that she nor anybody else will think. Now, think about the kind of actress you have to be, even with Anderson's dialogue, to play that right. And it's just such... I don't know anyone else who could have pulled that off. And as Mike says, in a film filled with outstanding performances, even by actors such as young Mr. Cruz, who is usually pretty awful. See our episode on, I think it was 16 on Eyes Wide Shut for further confirmation.
He was too young for that.
Everyone's brilliant in it. She, in playing such an unexpected part, and everyone's got a small part in it because it's the ultimate ensemble film.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And, it being a problematical film with raining frogs and everything, but that aside, it's just beautiful. And she, to me, is the gem among gems, playing a part that is completely unbelievable, completely against logic, completely against expectation, and she totally makes it work. Yeah. So Julianne Moore for almost anything, for even for another Anderson film like Boogie Nights, but
I would add her a performance, a lovely performance that she was sort of overlooked. A Single Man, the Tom Ford movie with Colin Firth. Yeah. She's gives a wonderful, and definitely a supporting performance. She's in it for about 13, 14 minutes, and she's flawless.
She always is.
Yes,
always.
She
always.
made. I mean, I don't put her in the same generation as Meryl Streep. I think her greatest. Just very briefly, I think her greatest lead performance.
Hours.
Is in
my God.
Well, I'm going to say Safe. The Todd Haynes
she's
film.
great in that too.
Oh,
yeah.
And guys, if you don't know that film, everyone knows her work in Haynes' Far From Heaven, which is one of Vintage Sand's favorite movies.
Yes.
Probably our favorite Todd Haynes film. But check her out in Safe, which the Village Voice, I remember correctly, called the best movie of the 90s.
Yes.
And it is amazingly prescient, and she's fantastic in it. So, but my number 5, in a great ensemble, one of the best ensembles of the last 25, 30 years, Julianne Moore in Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia. Mikey?
Okay, my number 5 is someone that I talked about a little bit at length during an necrology in episode 13. And that is Valentine Cortez.
Oh, sure.
In Day for Night. And I said it was one of the best performances of the 70s.
So did Ingrid Bergman.
And so, if you don't remember, when Miss Cortez lost the Oscar to Ingrid Bergman spent the entire speech
praising her,
praising Valentine Cortez. But this is for Francois Truffaut's Day for Night.
Oh, lovely.
She plays Sevion, who's this wonderful, terrible, conflicted actress. She's aging. She's having line problems, which I can understand that when you get older.
Moving from sympathy to empathy.
Exactly.
She goes to the wrong door.
And she goes to the wrong door. She's drinking, but we find out that she has a son who's dying. And there's this long, extended scene where they're trying to get this scene shot. And she just disintegrates. And it starts out being very, very funny. And then it winds up being kind of tragic. You almost, your heart kind of breaks. And it's all within this 10-minute scene. And it's all because of her. And she did do a lot of movies. You said you'd never seen her when we did the necrology.
I can't recall off the top of my head her in anything else.
She was in The Barefoot Contessa.
Oh, okay.
She was in, did you ever see The House on Telegraph Hill? She was the lead of that with Robert Wise. She was in Brother, Sun, Sister Moon for Zeffirelli. She did The Legend of Lila Clare for Robert Aldrich. Juliet of the Spirits for Fellini.
That's right. That's right.
And When Time Ran Out for Irwin Allen.
I don't
really.
Yeah, she was. Forget who. She was the wife of.
Wait, I know Poseidon Adventure.
I hope she got paid well.
Who was she?
She was.
What is that one about? I don't think I ever saw it.
Volcano.
Oh, it's Volcano. Okay,
yeah. It was with William Holden, Paul Newman, and Jacqueline Bisset, and I think this was the movie that ended the Irwin Allen streak. which
I never saw that one.
Which
Apparently, there was no morning after for Erwin Ellis.
I actually watched it on television just to watch Valentine Cortez, and it was not.
And I
very
assume
good.
she has a lot of other European credits.
Yes, yes, and but she did. It was a sort of a. The part was basic. She had married an American. In this case, she was married to Richard Basehart.
Ah.
And divorced him, and kind of floated around. I was appalled. She died 2 years ago. That's when we did episode 13, and she was not mentioned in the Oscar.
In the montage?
She was not.
Really?
And I thought that
that's bizarre.
Yeah.
That is
I
really,
know.
really bizarre.
Sometimes-
A winner of an Oscar. And
No, she didn't win.
Oh, that's right. She didn't win.
No.
She was. I'm sorry,
Right,
but
she was
still,
nominated.
that's bizarre.
Yeah, and especially that particular year, because how many nominees get?
Yeah.
You know.
And you know, the ultimate lover of film, making what is arguably the best film ever
Right.
made about filmmaking. I mean, I would go out on a limb and say that. And
You were right, Josh. And I said this before. If you, for our listeners out there who haven't seen it, I don't think you can stream it anywhere, but you can buy it. And Turner Classic Movies does show it. It's usually, especially around Oscar time, because it did win the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. And anybody who's interested in movies, and my feeling is, why would you be listening to this if you weren't?
I think it's our charming personalities.
Well, maybe
They
you're...
tune in to hear your necrology.
And John's little quiz. Stick around.
I would like to think that wasn't true. Maybe in the case of John, yes, but not...
It's a wonderful movie, and
Just everybody.
It's a fun movie.
It's fun. You actually forget you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
And she was one of that particular year. She literally won every critic award in the
Except the
book
Oscar.
except the Academy Award.
Yep.
And she's my number.
I
number
think
5.
by that time Hollywood is still feeling guilty about Ingrid Bergman after they had sort of alienated her for a long. It's like, oh wait, let's keep giving her awards. We're sorry. Sorry.
That's what I say when people are grumbling about certain actors being whatever. I say, are you still mad at Ingrid Bergman?
Good Lord, they gave her an Oscar for Anastasia, which was
not
not a very
not a good movie.
No, and I don't think she's very good in it.
No, but that's okay.
Yeah, she's
And
good in it, but
okay.
it's not a good movie.
The little moment for which she won in
Murder on
the Orient Express.
She
was
shot
fun.
it. She shot it in one afternoon.
Yeah, it was fun. Was lovely.
Yeah, it was.
But I don't get it. All
Yeah.
right, Johnny, number 4, numero 4.
My number 4 is Jane Alexander in All the President's Men.
Yes.
Hell
1976, directed by Alan K. Pakula. She doesn't have a lot of screen time in it, but she is so good. You can feel her fear, outrage, and the pressure she's under. Her emotional life and subtext is so strong, and whenever she's on screen, the emotional aspect of the movie becomes more impactful. There's a lot of necessary exposition in All the President's Men because there's so much information you have to absorb, but whenever Jane Alexander is on, it just brings you to a much deeper, more meaneful place.
Was she nominated for
Yes.
it?
Yes,
She
she was
was.
nominated, but I mean, I haven't clocked how many minutes she's in it, but she doesn't have a lot of screen time, but it just has so much impact.
She lost the Oscar to someone who had even less
Yeah, that's
screen
less.
time.
That's right, for network.
Beatrice Straight.
Oh, Beatrice Straight, sure.
Yeah, and another actress who every time I see her, she's good.
Yes. And she still works. I saw
Yep.
her in a play
Yep.
right before the pandemics hit, and she's still
She was nominated for actress for Testament, wasn't she?
for Testament,
Yep.
and also for lead actress in The Great White
The
Hope.
Great White Hope, and she won the Tony
Right.
Award. For
She
Great
won
White
the
Hope.
Tony Award. When I was a kid, I saw her with James Earl Jones, Magnificent.
Oh, you saw it?
Oh, the play.
Yeah, the play.
I never saw the movie because I'd heard the movie was not as good, and I didn't want anything spoiling.
I've seen the movie.
magic
It's
of the
pretty
play.
good, but
Good.
I can understand why you would feel that way.
I'd read that, and Alexander was also nominated for Kramer versus Kramer
Yes.
for supporting 4
Yes.
times.
Yeah, Meryl Streep won it.
That's right, Meryl.
And
she's excellent in Kramer
And
versus Kramer.
let's not forget that she took several years off
That's
of her
right.
acting career to become President Clinton's chairman of the arts, the
National,
National
Yeah.
The NEA.
NEA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's when she sort of said, like, all these people that she had to work with didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and for those of you who have Testament, must be hard to track down these days.
Yeah, it's from 1983. I thought she was wonderful in that.
Yeah. It's that little spate like The Day After. Was
but it was
TV,
much
better.
Much better. Much better.
It's post-apocalyptic. It takes place out. There was that spate of nuclear war films, that and war games in a slightly lighter vein.
And she was wonderful in that, and it was difficult to watch.
And she was Wonder in Franklin and Eleanor on TV.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
She is the best, still for my money. The best.
The best Eleanor Roosevelt. By far.
Yeah,
By
there
far.
have been some good ones, and there have been some bad ones. Cynthia Nixon. Sorry.
All right. Fantastic actress, and not need to be remembered. She's still working, but not appreciated enough, which is exactly what this episode is about. So nice job, Johnny. My number 4 is way out of left field. It's a performance in a film. Well, it's such an unusual film in that it is what I hate. I hate. How many times, listeners, have you said, "Oh my God, are there another movie based on a TV series or based on an older property?" I mean, it doesn't seem like anyone has any new ideas anymore. And in the 90s, in the early 90s, there was a spate. There were the Brady Bunch movies, with Shelley Long and Gary Cole doing a Robert Reed imitation that was so dead perfect that...
I never saw it.
I grew up on the Brady Bunch, so I did.
I didn't.
And there was, of course, the Addams Family movies, directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who had started out as the Coen cinematographer on Raising Arizona. They're very sort of deliberately cartoonish style, wonderful cast. The first one was good. But I'm talking about the second one, the sequel, Addams Family Values. First of all, you have to have been from the time of Ronald Reagan to get the title. Remember William Bennett?
Yes.
Was all those guys, all those conservatives who were always going around saying family values, and of course, Bennett turned out to be an inveterate gambler, right? Not to mention Rush Limbaugh's OxyContin problem, but that's a whole other episode or 12. We
digress.
Addams Family Values is so far superior to the original, and the original's fine. It's fun. But, first of all, you have, the cast is just insane. Raul Julia playing Gomez, Angelica Houston.
He's perfect.
Playing Morticia, Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester and Carol Kane as Grandmama. And Joan Cusack, who we could fill up a whole episode of just our favorite Joan Cusack supporting performances because she's wonderful in this. But what really makes the film is Paul Rudnick's script. And it's a very sophisticated kind of humor that really just walks the line. And you have to play it just right. And that those actors I mentioned were able to do that is not surprising.
Did he write the first one?
I don't think so. Or he contributed to it.
Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't see it.
Yeah,
because I did not like the first one.
No, but the second one is much sharper. But for a child actor to be able to deliver those lines with such precision and such deadpan, and of course I'm talking about if you haven't seen the movie, you should most definitely see it. Is Christina Ricci as Wednesday. And there are 2 moments in particular that are absolutely priceless that she does. They send her off to camp. And they sent her and Pugsley off to camp, and it's this literally call Camp Chippewa. It's just very happy, and they are not chipper, and so they lock them and her boyfriend in a cabin and make them watch Disney films for hours and hours and hours, and the sound of music, and you just see the cabin from the outside, and you hear all those familiar songs, and you're like, and then she comes out, and the whole camp is gathered, and the camp director's like, well, and she takes about 30 seconds to put this fake smile on her face that is such a magnificent little piece of physical acting. It's just so, and she says, okay, I want to have fun, I want to be in your Thanksgiving pageant, which is the culminating thing. And she plays Pocahontas, and she and her and all the kids who are outsiders at Camp Chippewa under her organization end up destroying the pageant. And it is just one of the 3 or 4 or 5 funniest scenes I have ever seen in a movie. I know it sounds like I exaggerate, but
you made me want to see it now.
How old was she when she did it?
She must have been 12 or 13 when she did it. And again, the Rudnick script is so sharp. And it's amazing that anyone could, not that group of actors could do those lines well. You know, they have another little baby, and, you know, so this is like a typical joke from the film. And, you know, you see Gomez and Morticia standing there, and Gomez says, he has your father's eyes. And she says, yes, give those back, darling. So, you know, it's that kind of humor.
I was just so disappointed by the first one.
Check out, it is.
And that's why I just had no interest in seeing the second.
It's so interesting because
I like all those people.
Yeah, all great people.
And I loved the show as a kid.
And a brilliant script. It's even sharper and a little bit darker than the script, but dark in a good way, in a funny. It highlights it. You know, backdrops the humor in a way that's just completely unique. She should have had a better career. She's still out there working. She works in TV.
She is. I frankly find her kind of the same in most everything.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. She tends to be the same.
Did you see her Woody Allen movie?
Which one was that?
It's his worst comedy, not because of her.
Wow, that's saying something.
It's called Anything Else.
Oh, God.
And it's Jason,
forgot about that.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh, it's Jason Biggs and her, and Woody Allen is in it as well.
Yeah, I saw it.
And it's structured very much like Annie Hall, except it's totally misogynist.
Really? Woody Allen, misogynist?
No, but I mean...
Spoiler alert.
No, actually, the one thing you can say about Woody Allen, as long as we're talking about supporting actress...
Oh, Diane Wiest would
Well, no, but I mean,
agree.
but he's directed 6 actresses to Oscars.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's possibly because he's written good parts for them.
No, that's true. That's true. Separating the artist from the art.
But Anything Else is not one of them, and she was the lead, and I thought she was miscast, and so was Jason Biggs, and it's a truly dreadful movie. But even in a good movie like The Opposite of Sex, the Don Luce movie,
right,
which is a pretty funny movie, she's sort of the same.
Maybe. Well, I mean, I like to believe that somewhere there's an alternate universe, you know, like the Upside Down in Stranger Things, where she's Anne Hathaway, you know, the child actress who makes good, and I mean, and maybe she's just better as.
But if she works. That's great.
And she's never not worked, not so much in feature films anymore, but she's always worked on TV.
I haven't seen her since the Woody Allen film.
But whatever you think of her as an adult performer, as a child performer, it is the funniest performance I've ever seen by a child actor. Period. Full stop.
Even more than Jodie Foster?
Yep.
That's my favorite child performance.
It's funny because I was gonna talk about Jodie Foster, because one of the things I really love about Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver is that part typically whoever plays it would play it as this like vulnerable, lost waif type thing, and she plays it more as like a very experienced, worldly 40-year-old.
Yep. It's so funny that we're talking about it because...
And she comes off much more knowing than the Robert De Niro character.
Yeah.
She has always credited those Scorsese and De Niro with her performance, said that they like just brought her along and taught her everything.
It's the only time I think I would have ever, if I'd been an Academy member, voted for a child.
Not Tatum O'Neal, huh?
No.
I knew that. I knew where that one was going. It's funny.
Tatum O'Neal is good in it.
Because I just saw the revival of my favorite Sondheim musical, Assassins, at Classic Stage Company.
It's
very good. It's not nearly as good as the first great revival with Neil Patrick Harris and that crew, but it's worth seeing because it's so unusual and unfortunately more and more prescient as time goes on. But and there's John Hinckley is one of the characters, and he of course does what he does and almost kills Reagan because of his love for Jodie Foster's character.
I wonder if she's
Taxi Driver.
If she's heard from Hinckley now that he's out.
Do you know that my wife went to college with her to Yale and was in the same house? And their houses are dorms or houses there. And Jodie Foster, that was like only a year or two after Hinckley made his assassination attempt, and so she very much kept. Jodie Foster's brilliant. I mean, she wrote her honors thesis about French literature in French. I mean, but she had security, and it was very. She did not talk about that with anyone else.
I wonder why.
So, Barry Sonnenfeld, Addams Family Values. It's always on TV. Try to see it uninterrupted. And again, especially focus on the scene where she, as Wednesday, leads the absolute and utter destruction of the Thanksgiving pageant at Camp Chippewa. It's priceless.
I'm going to make a point to watch it because I didn't realize Paul Rudnick had.
And I think it's definitely your kind of humor, Mike. I think you really like it.
The first one just didn't do anything.
And as I also said, it's the rare sequel that's better than the original.
Wow, yeah.
Your number 4, Mikey.
Oh, okay. Dame Edith Evans, who a lot of people probably don't know, for her performance as...
We don't care, we know her.
As Lady Bracknell in The Importance of Being Earnest.
Sure.
Directed by Anthony Asquith in 1952. Now, this is only at 62, this is only like the third talkie that she ever made. She did not make that many movies until she was much, much older.
No, that's right.
And apparently was, according to Olivier's memoir, was having problems remembering
with lines. Yeah.
And so that's when she started doing more films. But this was made in 1952, and The Importance of Being Earnest is just one of my favorite plays. And this is a superb film.
Yeah, I assume you've seen some live performances
of
it.
Of course.
How does the film compare with the stage performance?
It's actually quite good. Yeah. It's a little shorter, but it's quite good. The recent one with Brian Bedford on Broadway as Lady Bracknell was just priceless, frankly. But every other Lady Bracknell I saw, and I've seen a couple in London, isn't quite as good as the movie. And Edith Evans is part of it. And you could say it's a leading performance, but it's not really. Because Lady Bracknell only appears in Act 1 and in the last part of Act 3. And
right.
I'm not going to describe the plot of the
No, you'll ruin it. Yeah, because if you haven't seen it, you'll ruin it.
If you haven't seen it. But she plays, I guess the nicest word to describe Lady Bracknell is battle axe.
Nice.
And
I don't use that word enough anymore.
Yeah, well, she is. And something about the way she just says the word, a handbag, is so totally memorable. And now, there are two film versions of The Importance of Being Earnest. There was one done in 2002.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
I don't think so. I think it's awful.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it in a while.
Oh, I think Judi Dench, who I like very much, plays it like Queen Elizabeth. And they tried to update it. They tried to give Lady Bracknell a background as a saloon singer, which made no sense.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you see a flashback to
it really doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And oddly enough, in that particular, the leading men were Colin Firth and Rupert Everett, good actors. Oddly enough, in that particular film, the one I remembered most fondly was Reese Witherspoon.
Really?
Yeah.
Michael, you'll be happy to know that a couple of my senior teachers are teaching Importance of Being
Earnest.
It's still being taught.
Good. It is such a wonderful play.
Yeah,
it's the Anthony Asquith, and it's going to be at Film Forum.
Ooh.
That's what I brought this out. It's going to. I don't know the dates, but they're doing a selected screenings for Oscar Wilde.
Oh, very nice.
The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Ugh.
See, I think you don't like that movie because you know it's about you.
Well, I don't want to go there.
So we're looking at the painting now.
I didn't want to go there, but...
the Trials of Oscar Wilde, The Canterville Ghost, Salome, and The Importance of Being Earnest.
You have to say it like Gloria Swanson says it. Salome.
But I trust they're doing the 52 version and not the 2002 version. But Edith Evans, that was like, as I said, only her third talkie. She made a couple movies at the end of the decade. Look Back in Anger and The Nun's Story. And then her film career took off when she did Tom Jones.
Oh,
and that was her first Oscar nomination as Miss Weston. And then the following year, she was nominated again for The Chalk Garden.
Yeah,
and
then she was in her 70s by then.
She was in her late 70s,
yeah.
I think. And then her great performance, one leading role, was in The Whisperers.
Yeah.
In 1967,
which I did not see.
It's Turner has it. It's quite good. It's very grim.
It's so interesting. It just hit me as I was
really
listening to you talking about this, Mike, is that this last episode and this episode, and I think a lot of our listeners may be in the same boat. I have not seen so many of the films that you guys have mentioned over the last two episodes, because I tend to focus on the films made by the star directors.
Right.
And I've missed a lot of great performances because of that. So be taking notes at home, please, because these guys know what they're talking about.
Well, the Chalk Garden was made by Ronald Neame. And The Whispers by Brian Forbes. So it wasn't that
not unknown directors.
Not unknown, but good directors. And then she started making really small parts. And but her last film was a very funny little movie called Nasty Habits, Watergate in a Nunnery.
Yeah.
And she played Lyndon Johnson, and it was released posthumously. She's literally on her deathbed in the movie.
But I liked her in everything.
But you've seen Port and Sabine Ernest, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because
I have not.
Good.
I have not seen it.
Turner has it frequently. It's just and it's a little shorter than the original, but I love that movie so much. Margaret Rutherford is also in it. She plays Miss Prism. And and Michael Redgrave is the lead, and he's excellent.
Lord,
and
what a cast!
Yeah, and it's really, really good. And if you haven't seen anything by Oscar Wilde, that's the movie to introduce yourself, because you're going to have a really great time.
Lovely, and my list is growing and growing here of things I need to see. All right, we're moving on up to number 3, Johnny Meyer, the ageless John Meyer. Because the painting's getting older. I know, exactly.
Just don't look in that closet.
If you'd played the part, it would have been a better film.
Well, yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah.
You are a better actor than Hurt Hatfield.
It's not saying much, but yeah.
John is the thinking man's Hurt Hatfield.
Yeah.
Listen, it's better than being the thinking man's Laird Krieger, so, I mean,
Okay.
Yes,
anyway,
next week on Obscure
my
40s
number
actors.
3, let's get on with it. My number 3
What, leave show business?
is actually someone you could make a movie about. And that's Ruby Dee.
Yes.
And Raise It in the Sun.
Yes.
Mother
1961, directed by Daniel Petrie.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby Dee, poet, screenwriter, playwright, journalist, and civil rights activist. In fact, for a while, she was much more of a civil rights activist than an actress. She was very, very involved. But she plays Ruth Younger, the wife of Walter Younger, played by Sidney Poitier. It's a great cast.
Love the film.
I love it too. Yeah, I think it's still one of the best filmed adaptations of a play ever made.
I know Sidney Poitier was in the play.
Yes, almost
was
the
Ruby
entire.
Dee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Almost
thought
the
so.
entire cast was in the original
But
production.
Ruby Dee had been in some films before.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think
Before
you are
Raisin?
correct. There was a period where she was pretty active making films, and then not as active. She kind of went back and forth. But the thing that I really love about her, and is as soon as you see her, you can feel all the pain and disappointment she's endured over her life. I mean, all the dreams of something better have been crushed. She has the weight of the world on her shoulders and is old before her time. But she's the one who gets everybody going in the morning. She runs the household. She does everything for her family. She has a job. And because of the emotional investment that Ruby Dee puts into this character, the moment when she learns that the grandmother has put a down payment on a house.
On the house.
Her joy is just so much more meaningful. It's very, very moving.
In Clybourne Park.
Clybourne Park, which is an all-white neighborhood. And I don't want to spoil it for someone who hasn't seen it, but let's just say they get a visit from someone from Clybourne Park to talk to them about their so-called welcoming committee. But it's a wonderful movie, and she's
Played
great.
by John Fiedler, one
Yes,
great
and
character
she's
actor.
great, and it's a great cast. I mean, Sidney Poitier, as I mentioned before, Ruby Dee, Diana Sands,
Yes.
who I almost picked as one of my.
She plays Benny. She plays Benito.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who
Yes.
sadly died very young.
Yes. Claudia McNeil as the grandmother, John Fiedler, Ivan Dixon, Louis Gottson has a really good short scene. It's a wonderful cast
And a wonderful play. And
Yeah.
you guys will be happy to know that I teach that one. Along with Clybourne Park. Bruce Norris's play, with the play. And
Which I
do them-
love.
Yeah,
I love that play.
And to do them together back to back, there's so much resonance there. But so you'd be
I
happy.
might take your class, Josh.
This
Yeah, I think we both
generation,
should.
this generation is still being exposed to Raisin in the Sun and to Lorraine
Wonderful.
Hansberry, which is critical.
That's why a lot of critics and theater people gave Puffy Combs a hard time for playing.
I saw that
on
production.
Broadway.
He was good.
He wasn't bad, and the end scene he didn't quite.
Anyway, I want to get back to Ruby Dee.
Sorry.
Because there were other movies she did before this. Her first movie was in 1946.
Wow.
That Man of Mine. Then she was in movies in the 40s. Easy to Get, The Fight Never Ends, What a Guy, the Jackie Robinson story.
Ooh, terrible.
She was in No Way Out, The Tall Target, Go Man Go, Edge of the City, which is really
Edge of
good.
the City's
Yes.
a great movie.
Yeah, John Cassavetes and also Sidney Poitier. St. Louis Blues, Virgin Island, Take a Step, and then A Raisin in the Sun.
Amazing.
And other movies too, but she also did a lot of TV work. And as I said, I mean, she was working pretty steadily, but she was so involved with so many other things and very, very active in the
And
civil rights
she
movement.
received an Oscar nomination at age 85
That's right.
for American Gangster.
Yes.
That's right.
Yep.
And, you guys know how much I love Do the Right Thing, and she is the moral center of that film.
Absolutely.
Mother
Yes.
Sister
Oh,
is
yeah.
the moral center
Yeah.
of everything else revolves
Yep.
around her, and it's a
Yep.
brilliant little performance there. She could
Yeah.
do no wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything I've ever seen her in, she's excellent. Always very emotionally invested, very moving.
But my love of Raisin of the Sun is just...
And can I tell you something? It holds up.
oh, yeah.
My students love it.
As I said...
Yeah, it holds up very well. I just watched it recently. It's the movie. It's still really good.
And the play, the movie follows the play. When I saw Puffy Combs, I gave him credit for getting people
Yeah.
to see that play.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I gave him a lot of credit. And it's this winter. It's going to be done in Minneapolis at the Guthrie Theater.
Ooh.
And actually, I'm going to see it because I'm going there for another reason, and I'm making a point to see it.
Apparently,
Again.
when they were doing the play and continuing on into the movie, Sidney Poitier and Claudia McNeil did not get along well.
Really?
No, they fought because each of them thought that the play should take more of their point of view. And Poitier said later in his autobiography that he felt like she genuinely hated him.
Huh.
But apparently,
He's playing her son, so that's problematic.
Yeah, yeah. But apparently, Lorraine Hansberry took more of the side of the grandmother. She felt that that's where the real point.
Talk
of
about
view
someone
is.
we lost too soon, huh?
Yes.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Yeah, you can't argue with Ruby Dee. My number 3 is similar to a couple of choices that I had listed in the supporting actors. There were 2 performances that I mentioned, both from the early 90s, both from actors that I had never seen before, who just exploded onto the screen as Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List and Don Cheadle in Devil in a Blue Dress. My female equivalent of that comes from a little bit later, and this is someone who had been known a little bit for her TV work, but who, and you guys know, we've talked about Alexander Payne a lot. I am not a huge Alexander Payne fan generally, except for Election, which I think is one of the great American films about America ever
You don't like
made.
Nebraska?
I like Nebraska. I don't know why I don't like the film I'm going to be talking about, which is Sideways, because it features a balding, bearded, bitter, semi-alcoholic English teacher.
You're not semi-alcoholic.
That's true. I'm full alcoholic, but no, I don't know why I don't like that
It's
film.
funny. I loved it when it came out,
And
and then I
it's-
recently watched it.
And I feel exactly the same way.
I don't
And,
like it
you know,
as much.
Great
Yeah, I loved it too when it first came out, and then when I saw it again, I didn't like it as much.
Great performances,
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti is the main character. Thomas Hayden Church is the friend who's about to get married, so he takes him on a trip through wine country. And turns out Thomas Hayden Church wants to have one last fling before he gets married, and the person he chooses for his one last fling is an actress I had never seen before. She had been in Our List, the HBO series with Robert Wool about the sports agent. I had never seen her before, and she's pouring wine, and he kind of falls in love with her, and it's Sandra Oh.
Yeah.
And she just another
She's
one
great
of those
in it.
moments
Yeah.
where you're just like, wait, who is this person? She's amazing. And while, her film work has been mixed, the stuff she's done on TV, and especially, I'm not a Grey's Anatomy fan, and that, of course,
Never
was where
watched
she
it.
made her.
that was which was on for a long time.
But she there's this, when she finds out in the movie what Thomas Hayden Church is doing, she didn't know that he was engaged. She just grabs her motorcycle helmet and smashes him across the face with it.
Deservedly so.
Oh my God, it's such a good. And you're like, who is this person? She's such a powerhouse, and you see it in the first 2 seasons. I can't speak for the third because I gave up halfway through of Killing Eve, but she's brilliant in that.
She was good. I gave it up too.
And
much
another,
violence.
talk about too close to home. Her performance in The Chair.
Oh my God.
Is just,
I love The Chair,
I
and
did
I think
too.
she's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another person added to our list of people who have been up and down vehicles but have never given a bad performance. And she is certainly not classically beautiful, but there is something just so magnetic about her.
Yeah.
Playing everything from a CIA operative in Eve to to a doctor in Grey's Anatomy to a wine pourer in Sideways, which is the performance I'm citing her for. She can do just about anything, and she's one of those actors or actresses that you just say, I'm just glad I'm in a world that this person has become successful in, that appreciates someone like that who's a sort of an out of left field talent. So again, my number 3 is in a film I don't particularly love, but she just bursts forth from the screen. Sandra Oh in Alexander Payne's Sideways.
And anyone out there listening, if you haven't seen The Chair on the Netflix, gotta see it.
And we are not drinking Pinot. We are not drinking Pinot.
Agreed.
All right, Mikey, number 3.
Number 3, I'm hesitant to name this person because everybody out there is probably sick and tired of me talking about this movie that she's in. It's Leslie Manville in Phantom Thread.
Sure, of course. But what a performance.
She is a brilliant actress, and she's... I don't know how to describe. She just disappears into her roles. Most of her film work has been in Mike Leigh movies.
Right.
High Hopes, Secrets and Lives, Topsy Turvy, which she plays Mrs. Gilbert.
Well, I'm an insane Gilbert and Sullivan fan, so
And
I
she
love
is
that movie.
wonderful in it.
Yep.
The scene where she realizes she cannot just communicate with her husband. Heartbreaking. All or Nothing, Vera Drake, Mr. Turner, Another Year, which I talked about as one of my 10 best of the decade. She's wonderful in the PBS TV series World on Fire.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
On
excellent.
PBS, and she's going to be playing Princess Margaret in the last 2 seasons.
That's right.
Of The Crown.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But her performance as Cyril Woodcock, I believe it's the older sister of Reynolds Woodcock, is just masterful. She's kind of a Mrs. Danvers character, but not really, because you never really know exactly what she's thinking, and you never know exactly what side she's on.
But you always know she's thinking.
You always know
yeah,
she's
Always.
thinking.
Just radiates it.
And every shot she's in, there is so much going on.
Yeah.
And she is really, really quite brilliant in, I have to say, one of the best movies I've seen in the last 25 years.
Yeah, that was your favorite of the teens, right?
Yes,
Yep.
it was my favorite of the teens. It's my favorite of this century. That's why I can't wait of this century.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it can't be a coincidence that in the few performances we've talked about so far, 2 of them are from Paul Thomas Anderson films.
Yeah. Oh, he really knows how to work actors well, and. I've also seen her on stage. She did Long Day's Journey into Night, which she brought to BAM. I don't know if you got a chance to see
I did not see that performance.
Opposite Jeremy, and she was quite good. I saw her in The Visit. She's just a wonderful actress. I think she's finally getting a little bit known. She was nominated. For this film. She did lose it to
It wasn't me.
Alison Janney for the mother in I,
Who's
Tonya.
Who's very good.
It was very good. I can't say she didn't deserve it. But that's the trouble with.
There's another actress
Academy
who's just
Awards.
great in everything.
Yeah,
she
I
does.
almost picked her actually. Something I want to say is that all the people that we've mentioned, because we've talked a lot about when you're talking about just Leslie Manville before, it's like you always see her thinking, and that the person's very invested. There's a strong emotional life, and a lot of this has to go back to acting in general. That the actor has done their homework.
Yes.
They've taken the time to really, really invest themselves into that character. Because I think that sometimes people just think they just get up there and learn the lines and do it, and somehow it's magic. And it's not magic. You have to put the work in. So,
Yes.
anyway,
No,
I'll
I
stop
think
pontificating.
no, John. I think that's a really important point that is, as you say, is often overlooked. And so we come to the end of part 1 of episode 34, No Small Parts 2. Our study of our favorite performances that were not necessarily recognized at the time by our best supporting actresses. And I think you'll agree that was a wide range in our numbers 5, 4, and 3. And it's going to get even wider in 2 and 1. So that'll hopefully bring you back to the next episode, which, as I mentioned at the beginning, will be coming out in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to that. And I should just give a sneak preview. Our next episode for December is going to be a return to our alternate Oscars format, which people really tend to like, except this time we're reaching all the way back to the very first full decade of Oscars, and that, of course, is the 1930s, and our feverish little brains are already stewing about that one. So again, thanks for listening. Remember that we are available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on SoundCloud. Check out the website at www.vintagesand.com. And for our traditional farewell, in addition to the happy Thanksgiving and holidays and Hanukkah coming up for those who celebrate, we wish you that your favorite films may always be streaming.